Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got in the house today. I just spent some time with him this afternoon at the world famous Rock Fantasy, Mr. Steve Keeler. We've got Chris Canzaneri, one of the two Chris's on the show, and of course, Mr. Ryan Scow, who's going to be heading over the pond soon, right?
Yep, going to Europe next week.
That's right. That's right. So for all you folks who are going to see shows over in Europe, look out for this guy in the upcoming not so distant future.
Maybe you could leave in the comments where he's staying, like his room number and stuff like that. People want to come visit him.
Somewhere in Europe.
Out in a field in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in Europe.
In a cabin or something.
One of those places.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could sell like in time slots where they come to meet you, Scout. Like you can meet me in a certain pub in London between 3 and 4 o'clock.
Let me tell you what's not going to happen.
You want to set up a table and sign autographs?
That's all right. If people see me, they see me. If they don't see me, then
There you go.
We're gonna do that for Pete Pardo at the fair. We're gonna have free autographs from people. Maybe charge for the autographs actually. Put it in the comments if you want to pay.
Selfies with me more than autographs.
8x10 and a selfie.
Signed.
$20. Maybe is that what the wrestlers get nowadays?
I don't know. I see some weird prices out there. 50, 100, I don't know.
Chris Canizaro's. It's got to be at least $25.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for 20.
20. Okay, great.
That's a bargain.
That's a solid bargain. Yeah, it's not a bad rate.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Cool. All right. So today's what's that?
If I can get a couple of beers out of it, it's good.
Yeah, I will take a beer in lieu of money.
Beer's always good. Beer's always welcome.
Yeah.
They do sell beer at the fairground. So if Pete's going to be there and I'm going to
Most
be there,
fairgrounds
Chris
do.
can make it.
Most fairgrounds.
They have
Hopefully it's something good, Steve.
they got decent. I mean, they don't have like high-end IPAs, but they got
Oh.
Goose Islands and
Yeah, they certainly charge you for it.
stuff like that.
That's for fucking sure.
I'm sure it's not quite baseball
Wow.
places, but it's
It's not, but it's not.
No, you got a tall can for probably $8.
not terrible.
And then they got drafts at the other bar, which is I don't know what the price is.
You guys
Everything's
remember back
expensive
in the
now.
80s? Back in the 80s, the fair, we used to buy whatever was cheap there.
They got
Still
Bush.
kind of do.
I saw Bush in a can. They still got that there.
We'll kind of buy the cheap stuff sometimes.
Yeah, well,
They got mixed drinks too. So.
that's cool.
Anyhow,
All right, so the topic of the day, he's actually not here, but this is his topic. So Chris Sallow came up with this topic, and it's a good one. So many of you might have seen in recent years out in tour some of your favorite bands going out there and playing full classic albums, right? So, whatever it might be, right? A band picks their most famous album. They go out and they play the whole thing start to finish. I actually just saw John Anderson from Yes just last night play all of Close to the Edge plus other assorted Yes classics. So that was very cool. I've seen a couple of these type of tours. So what I've asked everybody, or what Chris actually asked everybody to do, was to come up with a active band today that you really like and a classic album that you would love to see them go out and play in its entirety that you haven't seen before. So we've each picked 3, and maybe we got some honorable mentions. I'll have Ryan kick us off. We'll go Ryan, Chris, Steve. We'll go round and round and round through our 3 picks. So Ryan, who do you got to start us off today?
All right. Well, this was an interesting one for me because I don't know. I know a lot of bands do this. It's become more popular in recent years as some of these bands get older and they're looking for different ways to mix up a show. So trotting out classic albums certainly is a good way. It's not usually a big hook to get me to shows, but sometimes it can be cool. So actually one of my favorite I'll pick some different stuff so I don't beat the same bands up. So one of my favorite thrash bands from Canada, that's not Voivod, was Razor. And a couple of years ago, I was up there at a festival and I saw, and they did a special set. They played 2 of my favorite albums. They played their first 2 albums, both from 1985, back to back. And it was great. But what I would have loved to see, and they're not usually a band that does this. That fest was a special kind of one-off deal. But what I'd love to see is to hear my favorite album from Razor, which is their 5th album, 1988, Violent Restitution. I would love to hear. This is probably like I don't know. I'd say this is my favorite thrash metal album to work out to because it's just nonstop, all killer, no filler. It's no bullshit, just fast-paced, great thrash, not a lot of slow stuff. But man, I love this album. So yeah, to hear Razor do this Violent Restitution start to finish would be really fucking cool. And I've seen them a bunch of times, and they always kick ass. They always play a whole bunch of songs from this because it's a pretty big album from them. But yeah, it was great hearing those first two albums. And the second album was actually Evil Invaders, which kind of ties with this is my favorite, but I'd say this one I'm going to give the slight edge to. So you're hearing Vinyl Restitution by Razor would be fucking awesome. Because if you don't know this album and you like good thrash metal, you're fucking up. Check this out. It's classic. It's good. It holds up great today. It's everything that's good about thrash. No extra bullshit. Just right to the point. You know, gets in, gets the job done, gets out. Awesome. So that's my first pick. Good old Razor.
And what's really cool about some of these like older albums is they're not that long. So if a band really does it right, they could actually play two complete albums back to back in a single show.
Yeah, which is what when I saw that's what they did, because the
Right.
first two are not long at all. So they played two albums, and it was that was a set. That was about 20-ish songs, I'd say 18 to 20 songs between the two.
Like
That was the
80
set.
though, right?
Yeah, and it was perfect. So because they don't really have long songs, like they don't really ever get to the 4 to 5 minute mark usually. So and all the songs on this are pretty short, so they could definitely play this whole album and then bust out a couple other songs and call it a night. So that is my first choice.
Cool. Chris, what do you got?
Okay, I kind of had a hard time with this. I was like, well, I was trying to find, bands that hadn't ever done the album I want to hear. And I kept coming up with bands that had done the albums I wanted to hear. So I just said, screw it, I'll do that. And the third one, my third on the list, I picked Opeth's Blackwater Park.
Nice.
They have done live. They made an album out of it, and like you said, they could do two albums. I think that live album has Deliverance on it as well. That Disharmonic or the Loyal Disharmonic Orchestra. They did both albums. I think definitely did Blackwater Park all the way through. Maybe most of Deliverance, but that's a killer album, and I'm not sure that they're even playing those songs anymore when they go out now. Now that they're a prog band, and Michael doesn't really like to do the growly vocals and stuff like that. But I would love to go see them actually do it live, or I guess just listen to the album forever and ever and never have it happen. Who knows? But
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
it would be awesome. Yeah, it's tough because I think they still do some of the death
They
metal
do.
stuff in the set, but not a lot anymore, right, Steve? I haven't seen them in a few
The
years.
last time I saw them was one of the last concerts I saw in the city, because I haven't been going to too many shows since the pandemic, and inside at least. And it was at the Apollo Theater. And
You went to that one.
they touched on some of the heavier stuff. He was still doing, I mean, there was a couple of years there where they didn't do any of the growl or the death style vocals. And I remember going to see him at the big venue down at Webster Hall, and have people walking out like, what the fuck just happened? Because there was people, they weren't expecting him not to do any then. There was people that were happy with their new style. There were people that liked them both, but still wanted to hear some of the classics. And I mean, he does that voice. Like, I think he just does it with such great style.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did some. They weren't just doing the lighter stuff when I saw them. They mixed it around. I don't know. They've toured since then, and I haven't seen and haven't paid attention to the set list. But yeah.
So Blackwater, what year was Blackwater Park released? What was that? 2000?
I think it's 2000 or 2001.
Around that area. Yeah, we should know,
somewhere
I
around
guess.
turn of the millennium.
So again, I'm surprised they didn't do like a 20th. I mean, it was in the middle of COVID, obviously, but they could have done like a 20th anniversary tour of Blackwater Park, played the whole album. But I just don't know if he's in that zone anymore.
He probably doesn't want to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it over and over every night. Yeah.
And maybe it just takes too much out of his voice to do it all night. Like, like Geddy Lee couldn't do a lot of the old stuff when we were seeing Rush because of that same issue.
Yeah.
Not
But I
that
agree,
it's
Chris,
not
that
that
would
Rush
be
was
pretty
doing
good.
death metal, but he
No,
couldn't.
yeah, I get you.
Gotta hit those high notes though. Yeah.
Because they
Yeah,
do.
Blackwater
they-
Park in its entirety. That would be pretty damn cool.
That's a lot of death metal vocals for sure.
Cool. Good choice. All right, Steve.
All right, so kind of hinted to you. You didn't tell anybody yet, but there's a couple bands. There's a band that's still out there touring, which I think still does a great job. But you know, of picking old songs and doing their 50th anniversary tour now, Judas Priest. But it was the 50th tour they're on right now, right?
Yeah.
And but I would just like to see them say, hey, we're gonna go out and do Unleashed in the East live. So that's my dream thing for Judas Priest to do. I mean, they do perform a lot of those songs still, but that would just be killer. And I know that Ryan was when the cover band British Steel was going to play in Middletown earlier this year, and they got canceled due to some illness or something, that they were going to actually do Unleashed in the East.
The full
And-
one, not the abridged final one. They got to do.
Yeah, you want the full set. Yeah, the
You
full
want the
set.
full every song from the original show. Yeah.
Starbreaker and all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Beyond the Realms of Death, the whole.
And then my second choice, if they didn't feel like doing that, do Stained Class.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So, but British Steel, a great Judas Priest tribute for those that live in the Northeast. If they maybe some people have caught them before, they played one of my anniversary parties a few years back, and put on a great show. Boy, we had them in Sanctuary that from the Iron Maiden tribute that year. Sky was there singing along with all of them.
I was there singing along. I do like Iron Maiden and I like Judas Priest.
Two great sing-along bands.
That is true. That is true. All right. My first choice today, a band that I've only seriously been getting into over the last year or so. I kind of, this is one of those bands, I've talked about them a lot in recent times here, that I didn't get them for so long. And now I really do get them. The band is King's X, and the album I would love to hear live in its entirety is Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, second album. Probably my favorite album by them. I think it just really flows really well. It's kind of epic. And I think to hear all 12 songs back to back to back in their order, Over My Head, Out of a Silent Planet, Summerland, Mission, Fall on Me, all of them are just really great. I'll Never Be the Same. Great album, great harmonies, real rocking, up-tempo stuff. I dig it quite a bit, and I think that would be really cool. And they are out touring again right now. They got a new album coming out in September. So and when did this album come out? 1989. Jesus.
Wow.
33 years ago. Whew. Would have been cool to hear a 30th anniversary of this, but I guess that kind of came and went. Damn you, COVID. So anyway, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska by King's X is my first pick for album I would like to hear played live in its entirety. Back to Ryan.
All right, so I'm going to pick a British band. Obviously, I thought about Priest and Maiden, some of the more well-known ones, but I'm going to pick one of my favorite new wave of British heavy metal bands, and they're one of my favorite because of even though they got 5 albums, they got some newer albums, and I think all 5 albums are good. They never really hit a dud mark, but the first album is, I'm tempted to say, one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. It's one of the first really good heavy fucking metal albums that kind of pushed aside hard rock, and it's just pure metal. And I've seen them once. I only saw them in Canada, again, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and they kicked ass. So I think they could still do it justice. They played a lot of songs on it, and they sounded great. And that is fucking Angel Witch, their first album from 1980. I don't know. I love this album. To me, every song on it is every song's a winner. It's if they had continued in this vein, Maiden obviously was able to, first album was also 1980, and then Maiden kept going, put out a whole slew of great albums. These guys, they faltered for a little bit. Some of the other 80s albums are good, but a little bit different sound, a little more commercial. And then he went away for decades, and then they finally put out its reunion albums in 2012 and 2019, I think, which are both awesome. The newer albums are really good. So these guys are still around kicking ass, but man, this first debut album from 1980 is just, to me is as good as classic heavy metal gets. And if I could see these guys play this album start to finish, would be absolute dream. Because I don't know, if this is probably my favorite new wave British heavy metal album that doesn't have Steve Harris on bass guitar. I'll put it that way. I'll leave it at that. So I really, really like the shit out of this. Hayborn's guitar playing and vocals. And he's the only original guy in the band, but the newest album, Angel of Light, even with just him, it's still
really good.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good classic. It's like this sound too, but not derivative of this, but it doesn't sound like the same album over again, but it's really good. But this album is just beyond where it's good. So to hear Angel Witch play their first album from 1980 would be fucking amazing. So that is my second choice. And I had to pull this off the shelf, but I love that artwork too.
Yeah, it is really cool. Yeah.
It's iconic. So fucking Angel Witch. That is my second choice.
Would you agree, Ryan? That is probably one of the best, or not the best, but one of the best. The best is not the word I'm looking for. Greatest examples of a what if band.
Yeah.
What if they kind of took what happened on that first album, followed up real quickly with something kind of similar, and just kind of continued on instead of what wound up happening to them? Because I think they could have been as big as.
Yeah, because the second album was let's see, 5 years later, Screaming and Bleeding, and it's not a bad album, but it's more commercial, different vocalists. It's like a different thing.
The whole movement, the movement's dead already by that time.
Yeah, the moment passed. Yeah, the whole new wave thing. Thrash metal was there. More like other metal bands. Maiden was obviously huge by then, so the moment had passed. And then they put out one more album, Frontal Assault, and then they fucked off for like till 2012. So yeah, definitely a what if case, because they came out right out of the gate with the same year as like Saxon, Wheels of Steel, same year as first Iron Maiden album. So they were right there at the start. Diamond had all these guys, and unfortunately, only Maiden and Def Leppard really kind of exploded from that scene. And a lot of the other bands, even like Saxon have been around forever. Saxon kick ass, but they've always been just like a solid festivals in Europe, tour every now and then. But yeah, these guys didn't even get that. So that's unfortunate, because I think this album, if they had kept going, they would have been. I put this up against any of the other bands from that era, but unfortunately, it was like they're one and done. And then, yeah, you're right. That's it. Off they went. So, but this is a great album, and I spin it all the time, and it holds up amazing.
Yeah, I think it's among some of the other less bigger albums of that time period. that Tigers of Pantang, Satan.
Oh yeah,
Satan. I almost thought this guy.
I mean, that's the best one out of all of them, I think.
That's my favorite of all of them. Yeah, there's a lot of classics. Diamond Lighting to the Nations. Court in the Act, Wheels of Steel. But yeah, I know something about this that just like puts a little over the top. Just the quality of the writing and the atmosphere and the guitar playing. It's unbeatable. So.
Yeah.
I almost thought you were going to say Satan when you were.
I did too, actually.
Well, the reason I didn't pick
Saxon.
Well, the reason I didn't pick Satan is because as good as Court in the Act is, their first album, I think all four of their new albums are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I almost kind of want to hear Court in the Act, but I'd love to hear like all Life Sentence too. Like, and even the new album.
Oh yeah, Life Sentence. That was. I remember the night we saw them in Brooklyn. What a rager that was, boy.
Bar. Yeah, and the new album, Earth Infernal, is amazing. So
really good.
And it just came out a couple months ago, and I'm listening.
Yeah, that's on my list for this year.
Yeah, definitely, it's good as they. So that's a hard band to pick. But even though the new Angel Witch albums are good, like that first one to me is just head and shoulders. It's just so fucking good. Not to knock the new ones, but so that to me was an easy pick.
And I just listened to the new Saxon because we did an episode on Rock Fantasy Files last week. And Denny and someone else brought up that the Carp DM, I guess it's that was it's solid. Boy.
It's good, yeah. And they've had a lot of good albums that kind of get a lot of attention, but
yeah, I find I'm listening to the Carpe Diem more than the new
Carp Diem. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's a good album.
Yeah, it's really good.
Solid.
Oh yeah,
very solid.
All right, Chris, back to you.
All right, this next one I picked, it's a band I don't really follow anymore. And I kind of thought if they were to do this album in its entirety, would get me back out to see them. And I guess they thought the same thing. And I'm talking about Lamb of God, and Ashes of the Wake is the album, which during COVID, they did a streaming concert of the whole album in its entirety.
Yeah.
Which, after that, I don't really care about that band anymore. But like that album just is a favorite of mine, and like it was like, if they were to do that, man, I'd go. But they streamed it live. I don't know if they would do something like that again. Of course, I missed it, and I don't feel like paying for it now, so I'll have to find some kind of bootleg copy or something. But I watched.
That's a banger. Yeah, that's a good album.
But yeah, it's a great album. It's my favorite album by them, and I mean, I've probably listened to that like 300-400 times. So, I'd go see what they did again. And I'm sure I will track down the stream and watch that. But I think that'd be pretty cool if they were to do something like that. They'll probably be supporting that instead of doing what I want them to do. So
I tell you, I caught Lamb of God about 5-6 times on the Slayer's final tour. And I saw him in a couple spots, which I saw him on Ozfest, like in the early 2000s. And I was like, man, it's almost like this, they had a couple new songs, but it was almost like the same set that they were doing back then, because I saw them at the Camden Amphitheater and I saw them at PNC, and I mean, they were on that whole Slayer tour. I've seen it. And they were good, and they're always strong live, but
Yeah.
even though the last couple albums been very good, but I can see where you can get lost in the shuffle with them a little bit.
Chris, I'm right there with you. I haven't kept up with them in years, but I had my cup of tea with them for a while, but it was so long ago. I saw them. Now I don't even know if it's still open, but the Nutty in Poughkeepsie, right next to the Chance.
Yes, I was there at
Club
night.
Crannel, which is like, it's not even a club. It's like a bar that has a capacity of like 70 people. And I saw them there, and I ended up like, there's no stages. They just played in the corner. So I ended up like standing. I was like shuffled onto the stage with them. So the guitar, I don't remember the guitarist's name, but he handed me his beer. It's like, oh, we got to play now. It's like, here's my beer. And then they played, because they're just like, you're just watching it. It was like almost like watching a bar cover band. And I'm going to say November 2001, I went down to New York City with some friends. I went to a show. I don't remember what show it is. We stayed at my friend's place at NYU, got fucking shit hammered drunk Saturday night. The next day, Sunday, we got up. If anybody remembers CBGB's, that in the Bowery there, they used to have matinees on Sunday. So we wandered all bleary-eyed and drunk in the CBGB's at like 11 a.m. because the show started early. And Lamb of God was playing with like 4 other bands. So we ended up catching Lamb of God, all like, fuck. And this was before the second album came out. The second album was As the Palaces Burn, I think. And they didn't even have names for the songs. Like, here's a song that's going to be on the new album. They played like 2 or 3 songs, but yeah, they were still playing like CBGBs and shit. They kicked ass. They were really good. Now, obviously, they blew up when Ashes of the Way came out. That kind of like took them to the next level. But yeah. I remember seeing them a whole bunch of times in like places that held like, there's like the size of a fucking bathroom. So I think I saw them when they were. They actually saw them when they were Burn the Priest, before they even changed their name to Lamb of God. 99 or 2000 or something, like long fucking time ago.
They were on all those Gigantor tours and a bunch of big tours they were on here.
Yeah, that was a little later, but like when they first started, they played like little bars bands, and then they got big.
Yeah, I think the Sacrament album is where they really started to kind of hit big, I think.
Yes.
Snowball for them. Yeah, and good for them. It's awesome. But yeah, it was cool seeing them in like a Club Crannel with like that was the name of it, like Club Crannel. I mean, it's been
I think I saw Black Dial Murder in there too.
Yeah, it was like
might have been around the same time period. I know Black
probably
because they would do the Chance would do those things where you'd have all the upstairs working and the Chance Theater and
you could wander
and you could walk through, like it was like looked like you were walking through like a bathroom closet or something to walk into there. Remember?
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, you had to walk through the broom closet to get to the club. Yeah, they played this room for like 50 people. That was kind of cool.
As another infamous or maybe famous night, I think you were along for, Scal, the night we went to Saratoga Winners.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was Fear Factory.
Yeah,
I believe Lamb of God and Children of Bodom. And
I locked myself out of my car then. I remember that.
Don't you remember how drunk I was?
Yeah. Well,
I think people were saying it was the drunkest they've ever seen me.
You were pretty fucking hosed. I remember that.
I did not drive.
Oh, I know that.
Paul Maurizio drove, but we ended up at what was Brian's barbecue, what it was Maggie McGill's or something.
Yep.
Now I'm using the Doors song, whatever it was, remember? And Heather was bartending and people said I was freaking priceless that night.
I remember that. I remember that very well.
You were there that night.
I drove, so I was not blitzed. I still locked myself out of my car like a fucking dolt. So yeah,
you drove.
Maggie McGill's, was that biker bar, like out in like kind of like the woods?
Yeah, off 211.
I went there. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Meg. It was Molly O'Connor. It was O'Connor's or something. But Maggie McGill's the Doors song, so it definitely wasn't Maggie McGill's. But
Malone, I don't remember.
But Heather, who used to work for me, was bartending there for quite a while.
Yeah.
And they started to do a few bands, but then they went out of business, and that's where Brian Remley opened up there.
Yep.
Brian's Barbecue.
I remember that.
Same building.
Cool.
But it's back to my turn, isn't it?
Yes.
I didn't think much about this today, and the third one I was really just scrolling through records, looking at them, and I'm picking the Scorpions for the third one, and I want them to do Tokyo Tapes in its entirety.
Oh.
I mean, this is
bring Uli back for that.
Yeah, Uli's gonna. You know what? Did they ever do it? I know they've done a bunch of the songs and brought Uli back in Europe, but I don't think the whole album.
I don't think they did all of Tokyo Tapes. I think they just did like a bunch of classics that he played on. Yeah,
which they did
essentially that anyway, right? But yeah,
and for years they wouldn't touch one of those songs in the States. They would not do any of those before Love Drive. They wouldn't do anything in the States. And then they started doing a little bit. Like when I saw them at the Garden with Megadeth, they did a couple songs. And then they did like a medley of like Steve Rock Fever, blah, blah, blah. But they never did any of that stuff. And I was told that the reasoning behind it was Claus was like, well, we never toured for those albums in the States. You know, it was I saw them on Love Drive for the first time in the States at Pocono Down Jam.
Yeah, but people
Pocono
know those
Down.
albums now.
Well, they know it, but that was just their idea. So easy enough, I guess. That was my second one. I mean, I almost went Dark Tranquility with like having them do Damage Done. But I didn't do enough research. I was like Cans a little bit. Like a lot of this has happened already for like festivals. You know, this was kind of unheard of. Maybe I can remember Slayer doing Rain and Blood like 20 years ago on the Ozfest. But before that, now it's kind of commonplace, especially when they're doing festivals or 70,000 tons of metal and stuff like that, where hey, we're doing this, you know, especially like DSI's out doing Legion and this and that.
And that was cool. I just saw that at Maryland Death Fest. They did all of Legion.
Yeah, they got called in for a substitute, I think, at MDF, didn't they? They weren't originally on that.
Yeah, but it was cool though. It was cool to hear because they never played. That's another band. DSI toured and toured, and they never would play those Legion songs. I think maybe their best album.
Sure.
To hear them play that album, I'm like, oh, fucking finally, you know, after all these years, we get to hear it. So that was cool.
Now DSI's putting out, or somebody else is actually doing it for them. DSI's putting out the Roadrunner box set of albums, and you can get that. And maybe I can find the link and put it in the
I just need the first four albums and I'm out.
But that the only way, dude, if you're gonna try to buy the first four albums, you're probably cheaper getting the box set for 200.
Well, I already have the first four, but
you have
those
them.
things are out of print now.
Oh,
the old Roadrunners.
Crazy how much money those are going for.
Yeah, a lot of the old Roadrunner death metal albums are pretty rare now because they never reissued them, you know. Yeah. So old Suffocation albums too. You pay a fucking for some of those on CD.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, my second choice here. This kind of came at me like right before we came on and started taping. I'm like, oh, and again, they may have done this at some point in time, but believe it or not, I've never seen Alice in Chains live, and I would love to see them play all of Dirt, start to finish.
Cool. You know, I was just looking on the floor. I got Dirt looking at me right now, and I'm like,
see that? There you go.
Alice in Chains, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like looking, and I'm like, and all of a sudden I looked up top in the A section, and it just kind of like grabbed me on the side. I was like, oh man, I would love to hear, because I mean, all these tunes rule, and I was just like, I would love to hear the current band play all this stuff live, right? But and how cool would it be to see them, because I've never seen them, for the first time ever, and hear them play this album in its entirety.
So wait a minute, let's rewind there. How did you miss Clash of the Titans at the Orange County Fair Speedway?
What year was that, Steve? That was 90.
It was 91, I think.
Yeah,
when I did the in-store, were you out of the area, maybe?
No, I was working in New York City, living in Goshen, and I would see concerts in the city occasionally, but I didn't do.
Yeah, because that's one like you know, everybody that's so famous for this area. I was shocked you weren't there.
Yeah, no, I was not on the shows then. Yeah.
So you've never seen Alice in Chains, even with William, huh? Wow.
Never. Would like to go.
They're coming around this fall. But
they're coming around. I think they're playing. Yeah, I think they're playing in August at Jones Beach. But
they're doing PNC too.
Oh, are they?
But they're with bands I don't really care for.
Yeah,
they're like with Bush and Breaking Benjamin. I think. I know Scow's got the Breaking Benjamin box set somewhere.
Yeah, I want to break. Yeah, it's
breaking.
Smash it on the floor. Anyways.
Yeah, Chris was just telling me he was going to make me a Breaking Benjamin mixtape CD.
That's very nice of him. It's an honorable thing for a friend to do.
Scow, I got good seats for you for Papa Roach at the fair. I'll get you a nice seat.
I appreciate
it. Where do I sign up for that?
What a good friend. Yeah, always looking out for me.
All right, Ryan, back to you.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? I'm glad Steve mentioned the Scorpions because I want to talk about Germany. So we think of some German bands, you know, biggest band ever come from Germany, Scorpions, great band. But everybody knows Scorpions. Your mom knows Scorpions. Your grandma knows Scorpions.
My grandma knows
Scorpions. Great band. So we go a little more obscure, one rung down the ladder. What do you get? You get bands like Warlock, Accept, also great.
Creator.
Yeah, well, go another rung down. Now you're getting the bands like we got Blind Guardian, Gravedigger, Running Wild, Creator, Sodom, Destruction, a lot of classics. So Germany's got a shit ton of classic bands. You go one rung down, a little more obscure, not too much.
Uh-oh.
Get one of my favorite, not even that more obscure. You get one of my favorite German bands ever. So they formed in 1988, been around a long time. They got 9 albums. But some of their newer albums are a little Motorhead-ish, kind of where it's like good album, good stuff, but it's like more of the same. But in 1998, they put out their second album. It's thrash metal, a little black metal, and there's some thrash metal. The band is Disaster. The album's Hellfire's Dominion.
Okay.
I want to say not too obscure, because if you like old Sodom, you like old Creator, old Destruction, like their 80s stuff, Infernal Overkill, Persecution Mania, Pleasure to Kill, you like any of that, you'd love this. It's great, vicious, powerful thrash metal. Their 90s albums, they had a different singer, some of my favorite stuff, and then they swapped singers and the stuff they've been doing ever since. It's good, but it's, new album comes out, all right, it's good, but it's kind of, it's like kind of like I said, Motorhead-ish, more of the same. But yeah, their second album was Hellfire's Dominion. Now this is Disaster with an E, it's spelled different. It's a Desaster. So it's got some great cover art too. And yeah, I blast this all the time. They're the guy standing in front of a church, acting real fucking metal back in the day. And this came out in 98. Which is one of the things I like about it, is because you say, well, who the hell was listening to like old school thrash metal in 98? Most bands didn't sound like that. Even like Creator and Destruction didn't sound like that. And a lot of the other bands had broken up or fucked off by then. So it wasn't the greatest time for that. But some bands were like, fuck it, we're going to keep playing it. We don't give a fuck what everybody else is doing. This is what we love. This is what we want to do. Strapped on the bullet belts, strapped on the chains and spikes. They got out there and they kicked ass. And these guys, I think, were one of the best bands of that era, and a lot of people weren't doing that. But I say, fuck that, because some people were and they were doing it good. So I've seen them. I've only seen them once. They played Maryland Death Fest in 2016, but unfortunately, they don't tour the States a lot. People don't bring them over. I just want to, they're cult. They're just a little too underground, where it's probably not worth it to come over here. But I don't know. More underground bands come over all the time, so maybe they don't want to tour here. Fuck do I know? But yeah, I would love to hear this album. So this is Hellfire's Dominion from Disaster. Great German band. Their second album. They have 9 albums now, but this is my favorite, and I would love to hear this live. Every song on this is awesome. And since I'm sure a lot of people aren't familiar with it, I'll tell you a song. Go YouTube and check out the song. The 4th song on the album, Teutonic Steel. Teutonic German Steel. It's like a good call to arms, battle cry, great thrash song. It's like kind of the tradition of classic Motorhead, like we are metal. This is what we're all the fuck about. Get your fists in the air. That's what it's about. So good stuff. That's my third choice.
Cool. I like how you preface them. You start off with the Scorpions. Like, we're not going to do the top tier.
Yeah, I wanted to dig a little
the
down.
Second tier, or the third, or the fourth.
We're going to dig.
Or the fifth.
Germany's got a great tradition of awesome bands way back. So, before that, you had all the great krautrock bands from the 70s. So Germany's always had their head screwed on straight with this stuff, and they still do today. Great fucking bands, pretty much since forever. So
that is very true. Very true. All right, Chris, back to you, number 3.
Okay, I was gonna say "Sad Wings of Destiny" by Judas Priest, but Steve already covered Judas Priest for today.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. I agree with you. I'd love to see your choice too. And then I was gonna say, Dark Throne playing anything, just anything, like a concert, any album.
Well, they did in the 80s. They played like 2 concerts when they were really
Just
young.
play a show, I guess I'm going to go with Annihilation of the Wicked by Nile, which is my favorite album. And I think that is, as a group of songs, I think it flows real well. It would make a great show. So I'm going to use that one instead of Sad Wings, which I really would also like to see. There's a couple songs in there they never play, like, Dreamer Deceiver and stuff like that. But they do touch on a lot of that album during, in spots while they're out there these days.
Is that that's the third Nile album, right? It's kind of like a greenish cover.
It's red. I think it's their 5th album, to be honest.
What's oh man, I like them, but like that's a band I hate to say I kind of fell off.
I think Annihilation's their 4th. I think.
4th?
Yeah, the Green Album is the 3rd.
In their Darkened Shrines.
Yes.
That's it. All right, now brain
Actually,
flying out here.
both of those albums are amazing, and I would love to.
Yeah,
see
I said
both
the first
played live.
so that was the last one that I'm familiar with, Annihilation of the Wicked. And I did the first. I mean, maybe I should have kept going because I got the first four, and the first four are fucking great.
Actually, you know what? The 2 or 3 after that are great too, man.
Yeah,
I don't think they've ever made a bad album, to be honest.
Okay,
With you.
I don't know why I stopped. It just
Ugh,
sometimes your brain goes stupid and you just I don't know, but yeah. Okay, so now I got. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got to figure it out. Yeah, great album.
I would say, and because Chris and I did ranking the albums of Nile like what, a year ago, maybe more. I don't even know.
Yeah, wow.
A while back, and we had a really hard time ranking the catalog because it's like all the albums are so good. But like,
Yeah.
I would say like the early albums are a lot more technical and
Mhm.
really dense with the lyrical stuff, right? And then some of the more recent albums are like even heavier.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's like doom elements and like these just massive riffs going on. It's still technical in spots, but they've added like this like huge bottom end and these just
right, cool.
massively grinding.
Right.
I would say definitely check out the last.
I'm gonna have to go back. I always gave them credit because a lot of technical death metal just does fuck all for me. It's too much, you know. There's
Yeah.
no songs, but they were able to do this stuff that's like ridiculously technical and catchy, like Black Seeds of Vengeance.
Yeah.
You could sing along to half that album, and the stuff
Yeah.
they're doing is just you
Yeah.
can't just get up and play that. They're busting their asses. But
Yeah.
Annihilation of the Wicked came out May 24th, 2005, and it's their 4th album.
okay, so yeah, that's kind of where I got off the bus. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back because obviously
Steve, if you're looking it up, Steve, what's the name of the album after that and the one after that? Like, so the 5th and 6th.
Annihilation of the Wicked. Then you've got Ithophallic.
If you
Yeah, I
found
never heard
it,
that one.
Yep.
You've got Those Whom the Gods Detest, 2009.
That might be one of their best.
At the Gate
Okay.
of Setu is
That's
2012.
great too.
What Should Not Be on Earth was 2015, and the
That's
latest
really good too.
was the Vile Nihilotic Rites in
yeah,
2019.
I'm gonna go back because I even had Black Seeds of Vengeance on the other day, and I'm like,
Oh, that's a good one.
that's
yeah.
a great fucking album. So
Yeah.
fucking heavy and like just
Oh, yeah.
fast.
Remember, Scout, didn't you go when they played the Chance when we
Yeah,
had that?
I said I saw them a lot. Like
They were at the Chance with Massacre right before the pandemic, but then
I
a couple
haven't
years,
seen
they
them
were
in a long
they were
time.
part of the Summer Slaughter that year with
okay, yeah, I didn't see
Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation, and
them.
Crisian.
I have seen him at the Chant.
I'm surprised you weren't at that one. That was an
surprised too.
all day thing. You were probably at something more underground.
Something more underground. I was in a Chinese basement.
Probably was.
basement, seeing whatever. No, I
That
saw
Summer
them a lot.
Slaughter was a classic.
You go to, because I don't know if you were there, Ryan, but I know like Pete Morano was there, but they played a double bill with Immolation at Gramercy, I think, like maybe 2017 or something like that. 2016.
I'm sure I was there.
I haven't seen them since probably. It's been a long time. I've seen Nile a lot, but it's been a long time since I've seen them. So yeah, I don't know why I fell off the bus. I just one of those deals where
This
Yeah.
year.
I'll do that. I'll go back. I'll start listening to a band again. Like this is fucking great. I don't know why I missed out, but then it's cool because then you get to rediscover all this stuff. There's other bands I've done that with, and they're like, oh, I got like 4 albums to check out. You know?
Incantation just toured with them right after the pandemic, or right, when people were let out
Going
again.
back, yeah.
Them I've
Yeah.
seen more recently. Yeah, I've seen Incantation a lot.
Well, I will say if you do like in the next couple days or weeks and go start listening to some of those albums you missed out on,
Mhm.
you're gonna be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I know it wasn't like I heard an album like this sucks, and then because the last one I heard was Annihilation of the Wicked, and it's fucking great. And then for whatever reason, my brain's like, we're gonna go listen to this now, and I just kind of I don't know why. You can
Hey,
only
you
listen
got,
to so
you got
much.
so
Stuff.
much to listen to. That's
Yeah,
what
you can
it
only
is,
listen to
yeah.
so much stuff that some bands that you like are just kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
We even did a show about
was
that. We did do a show.
didn't we show about that. You just
Yeah, we did a
stopped
show
looking
about
for
that.
whatever. You can't put your finger on it, but you just stopped.
And then I didn't even mention them because they were still in that spot for me where like I still haven't gone back to them. But now I got like I guess 4 or 5 albums to check out. So yeah, I got some homework to do. That's cool.
There you go. All right, Steve.
All right. So I thought about this one because when we threw the subject up, I wanted to be a wise ass and say, oh, I know one album I don't want played is the new Iron Maiden in full, which they say, which are threatening to do. And I think they should go play Peace of Mind instead.
Well, I'm going to agree. I like the new Maiden album a lot, but
I don't
I'm gonna
like
agree
it.
with you.
I just never got into that one. And I'm a huge Maiden fan. And I loved the one before it.
I know. Hey, you don't got to defend it if you don't like it.
And I just,
You know what?
I've tried and I tried last summer when it came out. I tried around Christmas again, when we were doing our year ends, a couple songs are okay, but it's, to me, it's just, oh my God, there's no way I would stay awake if they played that whole album and I was in an air conditioned
it's too
arena
much.
somewhere. I don't know.
It's too much because
Like I remember friends of mine going to see them way back when, and one was, of course, under the influence a bit of something and fell asleep during the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. You get that part where it's and I looked over and he's like, sound asleep. But you imagine with doing the whole. But I'll say Peace of Mind. I mean, I could change any 80s album. But of course, they're never going to do that.
That would be cool.
But I do give Iron Maiden credit for not resting on their laurels. Like some bands from that era just go out and play the classics and don't play anything new. So I know when I saw Book of Souls, I was happy and I loved the new material live. So maybe if I did see the new album perform live, it would change me. Sometimes you have to see songs perform live to really grab into them, I think.
Yeah, I thought the Book of Soul stuff was cool live, but I mean, I like the new album a lot, but it's very, very long. So if they did that whole album live, that would be the concert.
That means they're not going to play any old songs at all. They're just
It'll be
playing
the
that.
whole show. I even want to hear stuff from like some of the other newer albums would be cool too. Like I like shit from Brave New World, but yeah, if they did the whole new album, it would just be the whole show.
But I think they only have like 3 songs in the set list.
Yeah, it's the first 3. I mean, the last 3 songs on the album are like 30-something minutes, just the last 3. So I like it, but that's not geared towards
plenty of time to go out and get a hot dog and a beer for those.
Yeah, but I always get general admission, so I'm up front. So once
I know.
I'm
Stuck there, buddy.
I'm not moving. I'm there for the fucking.
Well,
duration.
maybe towards the end of that set, you could go for a walk.
Yeah, but then you're not getting back in. No one's gonna say.
No. I mean, they're going to come back and they're going to come back and play.
I'm
Fear
there.
of the Dark, and good night, everyone.
But
I
yeah,
like your idea about Peace of Mind. Steve.
Peace of Mind would be cool.
That's
That
what
album
it
would be
is.
a little underrepresented in their live set.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah. We're going to do honorable mentions at the end.
So-
I thought of a couple.
So my final pick for today, I decided to go on not so much a heavy one here. This is a little more mellow, but I think it would be really cool. So I've always been a big fan of the Electric Light Orchestra, right? Since I was a kid, I still like them a lot. And of course, Jeff Lynne has kind of resurrected ELO in recent years. He does like Jeff Lynne's ELO or Jeff Lynne's Electric Light Orchestra, whatever the hell he calls it. I think it would be really cool for him to get an orchestra and a band together and do the whole Out of the Blue double album with an orchestra live on stage. I would love to see that. And I've never seen these guys. What's that, Chris?
I said I was that close to putting that on my list.
Oh, really? No way. It'd be cool because I've never seen them, right? It's like one of my bucket list bands. Yeah. And I think it'd be really cool to see them with an orchestra because I think it would work because the whole album is very orchestral anyway. And they played like all the hits from this over the years, but there's a lot of great deep cuts on here that they've never touched.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of gems on there people never hear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was just thinking, how cool would this be to go see like on a really big stage with the big fucking UFO hanging over the stage, just like they did back in the 70s. I'm like, that'd be really cool. So yeah, so that's my final pick for today. Before the honorable mentions, Out of the Blue, ELO in its entirety with an orchestra today. So, all right, Ryan, you got a couple honorables?
Yeah, I got one. I pulled one off my shelf just now. One of my favorite bands, going over to Japan this time. They started as a black metal band, but then they went fucking wild, throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there. Got very proggy, very 70s rock, a lot of krautrock, thrash metal, disco, everything under the fucking sun. So the album that got me into the band, which is their 5th album from, I had to check the year, 2001. The band is Psy, and it was their 5th album, Imaginary Sonicscape, which is a little. There's black metal left at this point, but it's just this weird, proggy, spaced out. They're a very difficult band to pin down because they don't stay the same album to album. Even their earliest stuff is black metal. It's weird black metal. It's not like Dark Throne black metal. They've always been a weird band. But by this point, they were fucking off their fucking nuts weird. But you know what? Good songs, good creative shit. This sounds very memorable, very, very catchy. They always keep things song oriented. They never kind of, lose the plot. I love everything they've done. They got a new album coming out next month, which I've heard a song, sounds great. But yeah, this to me is the first album I heard, and it's still my favorite. It's got this cool green artwork. So yeah, to hear Psy do Imaginary Sonicscape. I've seen them a couple times, but it's been a long time, at least probably 10 or 12 years since I've seen them. And so I take any fucking incarnation at this point because I'd love to see them again. But yeah, here, this album in its entirety would be something special. So yeah, definitely a band that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think a band that if people heard, you know, if you like stuff like Opeth, if you like prog metal, if you like black metal, if you like just classic heavy metal, because they got a lot of that, like they kind of cover every base and they do it very, very well. Very, very unique band. Horn section on some songs, thrash on other songs. They have a whole album that's like thrash metal with like a whole fucking symphonic orchestra like banging away behind them. Yeah, they do a little bit of everything, but this one's probably the most psychedelic album, probably my favorite. So I'd love to hear that Psy album live. I would travel to see that. I get on a fucking plane to see that.
Cool. That's the thing. Would you travel to see
this? I would travel quite a bit because I like that album that much.
I travel to New Jersey. I don't know how far I go sometimes. I don't know. You never know, right? You never know.
Until it pops up and you're like, oh shit. And then you think about it. It pops up, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this guy, he'll travel anywhere to see.
Yeah,
I will travel. Yeah.
It goes all around the world.
That's right.
Haven't been to South America for bands yet, though, have you?
No.
No.
Maybe one day. No. Not yet.
Chris, you got any honorables?
You know, it'd be cool to see Sleep do Dope Smoker all the way through.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Actually, I think
How do you always have like all the stuff right at hand? You
got it right there.
I got a lot of music and the room's not that big. And actually, like, it just works out that like my S to like V CDs are right here. So if you mention anything like S to V, I can grab. Actually, to Z. And then, like if you mention like E, it's across the fucking room, and B's over there. So
It's almost like you and Chris planned that ahead of time, right? It's like
it's alphabetized in a big loop around the room.
It's amazing how you can see like everything in your room with this new camera system. It looks so much better than it used to.
Yeah, well, the old one was Well, I used to.
Now I see CDs. I don't see vinyl.
Vinyl's over on the
Other side.
Yeah, vinyl's.
I know you got a bunch of vinyls.
There's
Oh, wow.
Shitload of vinyl, yep.
Now where's your couch to lay down and listen to music then?
It's in the other room. Yeah.
Okay.
This room's not big enough. I used to use this thing before I got the camera.
That's the library room.
Yeah,
right?
this is a library. I had this tablet. This is what sucked. It's like I was calling from fucking underwater. Like,
yeah. Well, you know what? I think it worked fine in the beginning. It probably just got.
It didn't work fine at the end. It was driving me.
Like my laptop took a crap.
Yeah, I was done.
Steve, people were amazed today when they watched the video of us walking around Rock Fantasy. Like, oh my God, Steve, not surrounded by black light everything. We see Steve in like normal colors.
Normal colors, yeah. That neon.
Until we went into the pinball room.
Yes, again, exactly.
And you get neon, Steve.
You know, my sanctuary here.
Yes. Steve, you got any honorables?
I thought of a couple more. There's a band called Merciful Fate that's doing some shows.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it might be cool to see them play Don't Break the Oath in its entirety.
Yeah.
I'm seeing them in 2 weeks.
Where are you going for that in Europe?
Norway.
That's why you're not coming to the Rock Fantasy anniversary party.
Yes,
unfortunately,
I have.
Fate.
You are forgiven. You are forgiven. Now that we know who you're going to see, you are forgiven.
Well,
there's a lot of bands, but the two, I guess, it's a lot, but I'm seeing Emperor, Enslaved, Mayhem, Bottom, and Merciful Fate. So sorry, I can't see that, but I have to go see Merciful.
You know who might be going to that show from my channel's Ovi. I bet you Ovi's going to that.
Well,
Ovi just went to a big show over there. He has been going to a lot of shows. Ovi has. I'll have to ask him if he's going. Let you know.
I'll be in Norway to see that show.
You'll have some a local there to watch Ovi.
Well, Ovi, we know you're watching, so down in the comments.
Yeah, Ovi, are you going? Hang out with Scal. You can buy him a beer.
I'm easy to spot. Well, the beers over there cost like 20 fucking bucks.
Well, maybe Ovi will buy you one. That'll be worth it then, huh?
You have to be sober. You either have to be a millionaire or be sober.
That's crazy how much money that is.
That was my last time I went to Norway. That was my experience. Beer is very
wow.
The other band that you're going to see, I thought of as Emperor, and I may have done this before. I'd like to see them do anthems to the Welcome Dust.
Well, it's funny you say that, Steve, because they're not playing that album, but they are doing the whole In the Night Side Eclipse album.
Oh, they are? Okay.
I'm going to see them do a whole first album. But yeah, anthems would be fucking awesome. That's a great album.
And I got to throw in a new album. If I went to see Watain, I would love to see them do this whole album in its entirety. The latest Watain. The
Yeah,
agony and the ecstasy of Watain.
It's really good.
And they look pretty tough on the back too.
They always do.
They're an intense live, and
Lot of
I guess I'd go. I'm plugging new albums. The new Voivod, I could listen to head to toe too. That one's really grown on me in the last couple weeks.
Oh, that's really good.
It's awesome.
And I'll steal this from Nick and Amorphous Halo.
I saw they didn't do the album, but I saw Voivod in Philadelphia recently, and they played a bunch of new songs.
That album's great.
Awesome. The new stuff sounded so
Yes, I was driving around the car the other day, and I've listened to it on vinyl in this room, but just driving and
good. It's good.
that thing is great. Yeah.
I almost picked Voivod. I was going to pick Roar, their second album. They don't really ever play shit by this live. Probably
That's not my favorite album by them.
I don't think it's anybody's favorite. I love it.
Except for you.
Yeah, but it's not most people's favorite. But I love it. But I've only ever seen them play 2 songs off this album of all the times I've seen them. So that'd be cool. That's all.
All right. I would like to see Megadeth play Rust in Peace.
I've seen them do that.
Yeah, actually, I've seen them do that too. And
I have not.
That was a tour where they were on the road with Testament and somebody else at Meadowlands Arena. I think Lamb of God were there too, and Mastodon maybe, or Children of Bodom. I'm rough on that
So
lineup.
what, maybe 10 years ago, Steve? 10, 15 years?
Probably around that 2011, 2010, something like that. I remember there was a whole pack of us went to that.
my brain, someone's going to have to correct me in the comments here because my brain's fucked. But I could have swore I saw them do All Rust in Peace with Slayer and Anthrax, and Slayer did the whole Seasons in the Abyss tour. And I saw that in Montage Mountain in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
All right.
It's definitely those 3 bands. And
Well-
Slayer definitely did Seasons in the Abyss, which was cool.
Viewers are gonna have to help us out with this one. I
I'm
definitely seen him do Rest in Peace. I think it was at the Meadowlands spot. Maybe Slayer was there too.
I don't remember.
I know Testament
I
was
do.
there. I think.
Testament wasn't on this show.
No,
My brain's all fucked here. I'm only like 82% sure that
my
Megadeth did
brain's
that
old
album.
and fried, so
I've definitely seen them do it, but I just don't know fucking nowhere. So
I have too many senior moments. Maybe Daisy. Do you know which tour that was,
We
Daisy?
all have the olds, right?
yeah,
So that's
That-
one. I would love to see Deep Purple do Fireball,
Oh wow.
which I think would be really cool. Now, granted, I can't stand Anyone's Daughter. It's the only song on this I don't like, but I know Gillen loves that track, and I think it'd be kind of fun to see him up there, you know, in his kind of like old man clothes and just kind of singing Anyone's Daughter. I think that would be kind of cool. And what else do I got here? I'd love to see the Cult do the all electric album, the full
Wow.
electric album. I think would be pretty neat.
Mhm.
And lastly, I would love to see Styx do the Crystal Ball album, which is the first album they did with Tommy Shaw.
Nice.
I think that would be pretty cool. And I've actually seen Styx do all of Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight. So I think this would be a good one to see as well. So that's all I got.
I got one more. I forgot. I was actually going to originally include it, and my brain flushed until this very second. And I think you'll agree with this, Pete. I'd like to see Uriah Heep do all Demons and fucking Wizards.
There you go.
That would be cool as shit.
I actually was thinking about them about 10 minutes ago. I was just going to walk over to the shelf and either pull that or
Just-
Magician's Birthday or Look at Yourself, because I would love to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
any of the 3 of them. And you know what, Ryan, they're all short enough. They could probably play all of them back to back to back in one concert.
Yeah, this is a short album. It's the
They're
first
all
album I
short.
ever got from him, so I kind of got the nostalgic
Yeah.
attachment to it. But yeah, it's to hear this would be because there's a bunch of songs in here they don't play. Like there's obviously some they do, but most of this album they don't really. I've seen them 5 or 6 times. I've seen them. They don't really touch this album too much. So yeah, here I know you saw Rainbow Demon at the show in Albany. I didn't go to
That's
the
right.
next night, but yeah, to hear this whole album would be fucking cool. So yeah, that's my last one. You're right.
I'll tell you a Deep Purple story real quick. It's not a Deep Purple story, it's a cover band story. I was as we did the fair show the other night with the Totally Unchained. After they were done, we walked over by the bar there, which people aren't going to know if they're not from Middletown area, but there's the 31st Lap bar in the fairgrounds. There was a band 105 playing. Bobby Keegan plays drums. He was the kind of the house guy at Brian's Barbecue, and they were doing Maybe I'm a Leo.
Oh, really?
So-
They were doing like really obscure purple mixed in with like Pat Travers and ZZ Top. They were just killing it. They were tight.
Wow.
That's a great
It was a good night of rock and roll at the fair that night.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
You come on to one of these cover bands and you just like to play and just real not playing the hits, but playing, you know, the really good, and they were gritty. And Bob Keegan does a lot of the vocals from the drums. So really cool to see.
Very cool.
Well, you know, like just like we talk about Iron Maiden and how Iron Maiden always plays the same shit. But on my back of my mind, like it's always like I'll go see the Iron Maidens when they play.
Mm.
Not only are they a great cover band, but they play shit that Iron Maiden is not gonna play. Like last year they did "Stranger in a Strange Land." Now Maiden play that. That's a great song. They played that. I'm like, it's good. I get to hear this song live and sing along to it.
So speaking of Iron Maiden, I guess I'm going to plug the show, Pete, before we go.
Yep.
Is that fine? We might have talked a little bit already. So on July 29th, anybody that's in the Orange County area or wants to come visit us, Pete will be there. I'll be there. Some of the guys from Rock Fantasy Files. We have Eyes of the Nile. They're an Iron Maiden tribute band. They're from down south. I think they're DC based, play Virginia and the Southland quite a bit. And they claim to be playing quite a bit of obscure stuff. And they're going to have a nice long set. And we have Last Pharaoh, a local band that's played some of my stuff. They've got a CD out there on Pure Steel recording artists and records. And we also have Mr. Chris Caffrey. He's going to show up and play a couple songs with the Eyes of the Nile. So, and he's got a special surprise that they're working on a song to play with him, I believe, from one of his bands, possibly. So should be a good night at the fairgrounds. It's $10 to get in the fair. The concert's free. The School of Rock is also at the fairgrounds that night. They'll be playing in another tent, we call it the beer tent. So they'll be playing after and before, I think during the night while we have our show. So it should be a pretty epic night at the fair. And unfortunately, Scal will be in Norway seeing Merciful Fate, but fortunately for him, I wish we could have him there too to sing along, because we always have our Iron Maiden sing along.
I'm just gonna have to make do.
You'll have to sing Merciful Fate for us over there.
Gonna have to sing. I was born in the cemetery. I'll be all right.
So I hope to see some of our fans out there and just help me celebrate 36 years of having my crazy story. I don't know how I ever did it. So I'm getting old. That's all I know. And my first time doing it outside. So we hope for a clear night, but it is rain or shine. So if it's raining, get your rain poncho and drink some
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so, a few of us will be. I think Chris Allen will be there as well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Lynn.
Lynn has talked about trying to make it. I'm not sure if Nick is working that night or not.
Nick's going to Norway.
Oh, he's going
to be in Norway with me. Yeah.
Okay. So much for that. Okay.
I don't know. We could try to pry Butch Jones out, but I don't know.
I don't know. Cans will be away that weekend as well, so we'll hold down the fort with his.
Rich Cantino talked about coming, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk to Rich about that. And while we're talking about live stuff, so I know a lot of you have been asking in the comments below and sending messages and stuff. We will be announcing everything for SOT Fall Fest on October 1st of the Chance very, very soon. We're actually working on the press release as we speak. So stay tuned over hopefully the next week, maybe less. Information on all the bands that are playing, tickets and all that good stuff. So just make sure you reserve the date, October 1st at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York. It's going to be an all-day festival.
Wow.
Doors are going to open at noon. We're probably going to go till around midnight. And the afternoon is going to be lots of panel stuff like this. I think we're going to do a live Q&A and topic panel with the Hudson Valley Squares, one within the Prague seat. Martin Popoff will be there. He and I will do a show.
Wow.
And we'll announce the rest of the acts and everything like that. Like I said, real soon. So stay tuned for that. And yeah. That's all we got tonight. So thanks for watching. That's right. Boom. There we go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. For Steve Keeler, Chris Canzaneri, and Ryan Scow, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you next Monday night here on the Hudson Valley Squares. Till then, have a great week, everybody. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And stay tuned tomorrow morning for another episode of our favorite power trio bands of all time. And of course, tomorrow night is In the Prague Seat. So till then, have a good one, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.